Good morning. Good morning, Kentucky. Another Monday here. I have changed locations, different background. Thought you guys might be tired of seeing uh, my home office. So here we are, coming to you live this Monday morning. And we always love getting together. I know I just want to acknowledge that many of us come to this morning with a heavy heart. This is a difficult time for our nation in a lot of dimensions. With the COVID pandemic, with real questions around racial justice in this country. And I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you for joining us. And we always come together at the table with open hearts and open minds to be together, to learn from each other. And this is a chance to maybe lighten the mood and think about something, talk about the promise of tomorrow, strawberries and the seasons changing. That's our topic for this week. Maybe something you feel like you already know how to do, which, I know how to use strawberries. I get them home. Maybe they make it home. Maybe I gobble them up sitting, just sitting in my lap. And I eat them just like that. But there are so many other ways to find a new way to bring strawberries into your meals. And this week, we're going to do some fun takes on maybe old favorites. So if you've some homemade versions, if you want to spruce, everyone's been baking at home a lot. We've heard that it's hard to find flour right now. So everyone's baking so much. So we're going to see that. I won't spoiler Tanya's recipes, but I'm excited for what we're going to see. And at the very end of today's broadcast, I'm going to introduce you to a very special friend and colleague who you've probably met before, but you might see some changes here on the livecast moving forward because we've got lots of amazing projects happening at the Food Connection. This is an historic moment for local food systems as well. A lot of people are connecting with their local farmers and their local grocery stores and hopefully with their local restaurants in new ways, and we're working to support that through our other research and outreach activities. Because, we're not just a kitchen, even though the kitchen is really the heart of our center. And that's what we're doing this week, seeing people join us. Who we got here? Tanya's mom is here. We've got Susan West Reese here. I'm so glad to have you all. If you want to throw comments in the comments, I'll read them out to Tanya. She's busy cooking. So if you have questions, put them in the comment box. If you are watching this as a rebroadcast, it is 11 a.m. Eastern time on Monday, June 1st. So if you are watching this at a different time, we won't see your comments, but we'll come back and visit them. If you have ideas for future classes, if you just want to tell us how cool we are, we never get tired of hearing it. So that's the plan for today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Chef T.
Hello.
Hello. Coming to us live from the Food Connection kitchen. How are you this Monday?
Doing well. I had a great weekend, and I hope everyone had a somewhat safe Memorial Day because we took a week off. So it's good to be back in the kitchen. And it's good to be back on a day when we're doing strawberries because let me tell you, it smells amazing. Just standing here, it smells amazing. The strawberries smell so good. So we're going to go over two recipes today because they have lots of working parts. And I don't want to belabor either of them too much, but I think it's worth just focusing on these two. We will talk about strawberries and their care and their keep a little bit at the beginning. And then if you have questions, just put them in. Lily will shout them out to me. We are down to one camera today because of some technical issues. So if you will just be a little patient with me as I move my camera back and forth.
It'll look great. I'm going to stop you for 1 second. Show us these strawberries and where did you get them from? Give us a teaser.
All right, so these, I bet you can smell them from here. These are locally grown. They're from Gary Farm. And when I just went to the farmer's market, a lot of the pre-order strawberries were already sold out. I was getting a little nervous. So I went really early Saturday morning. And when I was standing in my little circle, like they have drawn, to keep you socially distanced appropriately, even from there, I could smell these strawberries. Okay, 6 feet away with the mask on, I could. They are absolutely gorgeous. So, the first thing I did, I kept these in here so I could show you. But the first thing I did when I bring them home is to get them out of this carton. What I do is because the pressure. berries are so delicate, so that any kind of berry that you have, if you can get the pressure of them, even just them on each other, you can get that off. That will help the cells from breaking down and going to rot really fast. So I took these and I put some sheet pans down, put about 3 layers of paper towel, and just gently spread them out on the paper towel. We're mitigating moisture, and then I popped them in the fridge as soon as possible. It wasn't too warm of a day on Saturday, but you want to get the heat out of them at ASAP. You know, things that grow in the spring, they like cool weather. So we want to keep them cool.
I will also note you did not wash them. It took me too long to learn that you should not wash your berries until you're ready to eat them.
Right. These have not been washed. These that are still, I just left them pristine in here. You want to keep, even though they are, they contain a lot of water, once they're picked, you want to really watch and keep water off of them. And that is true of a lot of spring veg. So you can see over here, these are the ones that I've washed and that we're going to use in the recipe today. I just washed them right before the demo.
Yeah, because they'll get all mushy. They'll get moldy.
They'll get mushy and moldy. And when something's this beautiful, you don't want that to happen.
Great. Lots of strawberry vendors at the Lexington Farmers Market, I think all over. I will briefly show Gary Farms Facebook page. I hope you all can see this video that's playing. Yeah, look at those. Absolutely gorgeous. And we also, if you're living more towards central Kentucky, I hope we have a statewide viewership, or our friends from all over. Did this click over? Let me show a different tab. Some of the bigger strawberry growers in the state, Van Meter Farm, if I can pull that up. They, we are not able to do U-pick right now, but some of the big U-pick farms are being really creative. So Van Meters do a lot of sales to schools in the area, and they are doing farmers markets and curbside pickup. So they're, if you've had their strawberries before, still available. You can check them out if you're not in the Lexington area. And if you have a favorite strawberry grower, tell us in the comments. We'll give them a shout out. And okay.
Okay. So
let's get cooking. I'll get out of your way.
Well, and pop back in whenever you have a question.
Okay.
As Lily said, I'm a big one for just eating strawberries, especially locally grown, the good ones, not the ones from the grocery store that are all cardboardy and white in the middle and they make that kind of crackling sound when you cut them open. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the locally grown. They're red all the way through. They're juicy. They're delicate. They're fragrant like you would not believe. Those sometimes the best things to do with those is just eat them as they are. I'm going to do one really traditional recipe today. We're going to do strawberry shortcakes, but we're going to save that for the end. But I wanted to do a savory application. A lot of times we don't think about strawberries in a savory way. So I am going to do a salad today with strawberries and some spinach. We'll talk about that in just a minute because it's very special spinach. And we're going to do a Vidalia onion vinaigrette. So we're going to put all of these different savory elements. So our strawberry is going to work as that bright, sweet, tart kind of element in our salad. We always want to balance everything out, have a lot of different ingredients that complement one another if you're going to add a bunch of stuff to salad. And when you have a lot of lovely, beautiful greens, you don't have to do a whole lot to zhuzh it up. So we have about 3 different things we're going to add to this salad today and a little bit of a garnish that everybody's going to love. So I'm going to move my camera down here to the board.
Tanya's not lying about that garnish. She's playing it low key. I'm gonna spoiler it. I don't care. It's candied pecans, and they are so addictive. And we get these incredible Kentucky Kernel wild seedling pecans out of Western Kentucky. Honey. Okay. All right. Let's get to it. I want to.
Yeah. So we are going to start. Thank you, Lily, because we have to start with the pecans, and I almost forgot that. So here we have about 1.5 cups, almost 2 cups of pecans. And I went ahead and cracked my egg. I have a 1 egg white here. I went ahead and cracked that off the screen so I wouldn't have to wash my hands in the middle of the demo. I have, for this amount, your recipe that you'll receive has a 3-cup amount. I'm going a little bit smaller than that, so about half. I've got a 1/4 cup of white sugar here. You will typically use a 1/2 cup for 3 cups. I'll also, a lot of times I like to put half white, half brown sugar and mix it together. I don't have any brown sugar in the kitchen today. That's one of the things, when you're not in here all the time, you can't keep up with inventory like normally. So, but I'm using white sugar today, which is perfectly fine. Now the spice in spiced pecans. First of all, we need just a wee bit of salt. And I'm going to grab that from around here. I had one right by me, but here's about a half teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that into that sugar. I have close to a teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and you can really do this as you like. Quarter teaspoon of clove. Love the smell of cloves. And as another little surprise ingredient, I have just a pinch of cayenne. Now this should not give your pecans a lot of heat. It's just a little bit of in the background. With sweet things, just the tiniest bit of heat is very good. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm just going to take, I have these little slurry whisks here because these are tiny amounts, but these are perfect for mixing up your sort of spicy sugar mixture. I'm also going to take one of those, and the egg white that I've got here, I'm going to whip it just a little bit. And the reason that we're doing that, we want to whip it till it gets a little foamy. We're breaking down the proteins in this egg white. And we want to do that because you know how egg whites just sort of slip out of the shell all together and they form a clump. We don't want that. We want to coat our pecans in an even layer. So we don't want a big clump of eggs. So that's, we're not going to make it too just foamy. We're not looking for soft pieces of anything. Now I've got this bowl, and you'll notice it's got plenty of room. I'm going to put the pecans in there. And I'm going to be really careful about how much of this egg white. For a full 3 cups, you could use a whole egg white. I'm just going to put enough in here. You basically just want enough to really coat your pecans well. You don't want a lot hanging around because what that does, got a little crazy with my stirring. What that does is it forms, you don't have just a nice sugar spice coating on your pecans, you get this cocoon. And now there's nothing wrong with the flavor on that. They look like Wookiee pecans. They look a little fuzzy. That's all. They just look a little different. So just enough to coat the pecans really well. So the egg is going to stick the sugar mixture. And you just want enough sugar mixture to coat everything well also. If you have extra sugar, then it's going to form that little fuzziness on the outside. And while it tastes fine, it just doesn't look as good as if they're basically just coated. And I think this is just perfect right here. I'm going to go into a 325-degree oven. And what that does is that gives you a little leeway. So if you hear your timer and don't quite get to the oven right away, it's not going to burn up. Now, they will eventually, of course, but the 325 gives you a little leeway so that they don't burn very quickly. Burn quickly, and sugar, which also does. So you want to protect yourself a little bit. Now I'm going to put these on here. I want to spread them out as much as possible. This whole thing will go on this pan. I'm using parchment because, and you really want to use parchment. I wouldn't even put a steel pat through here. I would actually use something disposable because this stuff is super sticky. And we're going to go into that 325-degree oven with these. Now for the salad, here we go.
I was going to say, we've got some really good, we're upping our game, guys. We've got some really good magic of TV coming up, so stay tuned.
We're trying here, even if my phone doesn't cooperate, we are really going for the Food Network. So for the rest of the salad, while I've got the camera down here, this is spinach. And you may have not seen spinach like this before on this very thick stem. This is New Zealand spinach, and it's grown by a sweetheart of a man here in Lexington, Eric Wallace. He and his wife, Gail, have had a farm here for many, many years. He was my first CSA when I tried CSAs, and that was, I think, back in '06, when his kids were little. And what is amazing about this whole community is that his son, who was a tiny little thing running around on his big wheel when I went out for my CSA, came into one of my classes last year. So that was a wonderful little bookend. Eric is really scaling down his production now. He's been doing it for a very long time. But this spinach is amazing. It is on a thicker stem. It doesn't lose water the way normal leaf spinach does, so it lasts a really long time. That's why I love this stuff. So we've got that. I'm going to put that in my bowl in just a minute. I also, for a creamy, earthy element, I've got some blue cheese here. This is Kenny's Blue Gouda. I've just crumbled that into a bowl. Our other element that we're going to use here, the ends are really getting to me. Look at these gorgeous things. These are some sweet little red candy onions from Adrienne Egham at Stonehenge Farm. And spoiler alert, Adrienne is going to be joining us next week, so we'll get to talk to her about some kohlrabi, and I'm just going to leave that mystery there. We're going to pull off the outside piece. Now, I have washed these really well, so you can see the roots. They were also really clean when I got them, but the roots are really clean. We're going to take those roots off, and I'm going to trim off some of this green because I'm not going to use the green in the salad. I really just want the red part of the onion. Now, we're going to use our claw with our non-cutting hand, and I'm grasping my knife with 3 fingers around the handle, and I'm pinching on either side here. And basically, I'm putting the tip of my knife down so that I can really control my knife and get thin little rings. Now, if you don't have the little candy onions and you're doing slices off of just a red onion, and I do recommend a red for that depth of flavor. They have just a wee bit more nuance to them than a white, and you're going to use a sweet in the vinaigrette, so you could emphasize all those flavors, but I like the red for its depth, especially raw on sandwiches or in salads.
Tanya, I have a question for you.
You might.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So can you grill onions like that whole? Like if I pulled those out of my garden, if I brought those home, can you throw those just straight on the grill? Is that a thing?
Yes, just drizzle them with a little oil and throw them on whole, and you want to get them really charred. That really brings out the sweetness of these sweet candy onions. And in fact, there's a similar allium that they grow in Spain called a calzone, and they have a whole festival. They char them until they're completely black. They bring them out on tables. You peel them on newspapers, and you just understand that your hands and your mouth are just going to get charcoal everywhere. And you dip them into a Romanesco style sauce, and you sort of eat them whole. You just sort of chomp, 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 chomp till they're gone.
Fun. So if you were having a barbecue, you could get your salad ready, throw those on the grill with other things,
Yes.
chop the onions up, toss them in at the last minute, nice little barbecue.
yes.
I was just sitting here thinking about it. Okay,
It won't take very long to grill those onions either, to char. So we're gonna put those in, and then of course we have our strawberries. I've gone ahead and quartered a few. You could slice them if you want. Now, my technique, a lot of people ask about, it all depends, like you can, with a lot of things in cooking, you can top strawberries fast, or you can top them very efficiently. So what a lot of chefs do will, of course, because we always use our chef's knife is our best tool. We just hold it, and then we just take the green off as close as possible. See, I didn't lose much of the shoulders. You're not losing a lot. And that gives you a nice flat surface. So that way, if you want to have or quarter them, you have nice, stable. I always tell people half of breaking down vegetables and fruit is just getting a stable surface. You could do that. You could also take a paring knife and pull the hull out. And then a lot of people, especially with kids, you push a straw up through the end and push push the green top out of it. So there's my strawberries. And now we are going to make the sweet Vidalia dressing. So I've got to show you how to break down your Vidalia onion. Now your recipe calls for one small. This is a really big one, so I'm probably only going to use about a half, maybe even a little less than that of this onion. So I'm cutting my stem and my root off. So again, flat surfaces, nice and stable. Cutting that in half. And that makes it easy to get the peel off. You want to take the papery peel and then any of the layers underneath that have any kind of leathery or dryness to them. So yeah, we'll set that aside. And then I'm just going to rake all of this into my discard bowl that I always have with me. And I'm going to go ahead, even though this is a Vitamix and it'll probably chop everything up, it helps, especially if you don't have a really good kind of hefty, heavy-duty blender. Like mine's just a Black & Decker at home. I go ahead and chop these things up because it helps the blender out a little bit. So now I'm going to turn you toward my blender so you can kind of see as I put this in here. Maybe. Well, I tell you what, we'll pull the pitcher out. And you can see as I add this. So this is our Vidalia onion. I have, I think it's 3 teaspoons of white wine vinegar. And we love to talk about Madhouse vinegar in Cincinnati. Now, I am not doing this in any particular order because the blender's doing my work for me. It's going to make sure all of these molecules mix up very well. So I don't have to like drizzle my oil in or anything like that. So I'm going to dump in. Your recipe calls for light extra virgin olive oil. And in fact, I didn't have that today. So I did a blend of light olive oil. I had extra virgin. So I blended that with just a little bit of canola to lighten up the flavor on that. And you might ask about that. Well, olive oils have really fruity, peppery, sometimes even spicy or smoky flavors. And sometimes that can be overwhelming, especially in a sweet, bright vinaigrette like this. So we want to lighten that up, make it a little bit more neutral. I've got a tablespoon of mayo. So this will be somewhat creamy.
Mayonnaise in the dressing? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of mayonnaise in a dressing. I'm intrigued.
You mean a non-creamy dressing?
I don't know much. Tanya, you know how much I know about salads.
Yeah, mayo is a big ingredient in creamier dressings. So your ranch, your Thousand Island, things like that contain a lot of mayo. Honestly, that explains it. Those are not my preferred dressings, so that explains it. Thank you. I like this one because it's just that one little tablespoon, and that just gives a little creaminess to the vinegar. It's basically a vinaigrette with a tiny bit of creaminess. Oh, here's my salt. That's what I do. So I'm going to put about a quarter to a half a teaspoon of salt in there, and then we've got a tablespoon plus 2 teaspoons of sugar. So I'm going to put all that in here, and then I'm going to make some noise. But it won't take very long in this. I love this blender. You'll see why in about 50 seconds.
I'm going to mute you. While I'm muting Tanya, and she's doing her whizzing over there. Not the word I wanted. Blending. Can you hear me, Tanya? Give me a thumbs up. Oh, good. Yeah. So if you have a favorite salad dressing, share in the comments with us. I'm just going to spare you the Vitamix noise. It is fine if you like ranch and Thousand Island dressing. Lots of people do. This is not. We always tell students who come in and are surprised by our food. I would not come to your home and tell you that your food is nasty. Please don't do that here. You can tell me it's not to your taste. You can tell me, oh, it's not. I don't particularly care for it. That's a very polite way to say it. So that's all I'm trying to say. All right, we done blending?
I am done blending, and this is perfect. And I tell you what, this is so much better than what you get in the jar on the shelf. Again, I'm not dissing it, and I'm not judging you. I have used plenty of that Vidalia vinaigrette on the shelf because I love this salad. And I was introduced to it a long time ago before I even became a chef. So no dissing that, but this is so much better. It is just lighter. You get just a little bit of that onion. It's tart, it's sweet, it's slightly creamy. It's excellent. So now we've got to put our salad together. And I'm going to start in this metal bowl because I always like to mix my salads in a metal bowl before, because if you're putting them in a nice glass bowl, if you're mixing, you're getting all of that along the side. So I like to pre-game it in a big metal or plastic bowl, or if you have a wooden one, it doesn't show as much, so that's
Hey,
nice.
Tanya, shift our view over to the bowl.
Oh, yeah. And let me
There we
get
go.
the dressing out of the way for now. Now, I'm not taking too much of the stems off of this. The stems on this are very tender, and they're full of water, and I'm just taking off the bigger ones. Like these little things, I'll probably leave these just about the way they are. And your recipe calls for about 3 cups. I may not go that big. I'm trying to keep my portions small over here. Just for demonstration's sake. I'm finally learning how not to make enough for an entire class when I do these demos. So yeah, anything that just sort of sticks out. And when you get leaf spinach, a lot of vendors have leaf spinach right now. Even if it's big, it's going to be super tender because it's so early in the year, and it's been so cool, so it's nice. But just if you're worried about if it's tender or not, just take a leaf and take a bite and see what you think. If there are big stems, you do want to take the big stems off so that when you put a bite of salad in your mouth, you don't look like a cow chewing her cud. And we'll stop there. And
what were you trying to say? That's me.
It's rough when you've got that thing sticking, that little stem sticking out of your mouth, and you're trying to chew, somewhat gracefully. Okay, so there's our spinach. I'm going to add our lovely fragrant strawberries that are just quartered. Some of this back. I also need to remember to put in these tiny little sweet onions, and hopefully they'll kind of fall apart as I toss the salad. The blue cheese crumbles, and if you really want to avoid getting blue cheese smell in your hands when you're crumbling them, just toss on some gloves. And now for the pièce de résistance, I'm going to grab some already done pecans, because the ones that I'm smelling right now are still going. So here's my pre-made ones. As you can see, they're you have all these little holes. I mean, the egg, you go through several steps. So you may want to give them a stir a couple times, because you'll start to see this to thicken, and they'll still move around, and it's good to kind of just break them up. And then at the very end, you'll have to kind of pull them off the paper. This is why I use paper and not a seal pat, because seal pats are hard. It's hard to get this off the bottom of a seal pat, so you'll see that part. So I'm gonna very carefully chop up a few of those, and you just want enough. So I'm just going to put them out here. Always use your claw, even though it's a bunch of stuff like this. Put my knife down again, and you want to be gentle in the beginning, or they'll go flying. And I've done that many a time, been in a hurry, especially in a restaurant when you're trying to get set for serving out, and you get in a hurry and you start chopping, and they can fly several feet. So I like big chunks, but you can chop them down as small as you want. Still want them to fit on a fork. So there are my chopped up pecans. Here is now I am not going to just pour all this in. This is a hard one to convey to the students. I'm just gonna drizzle it on. You want enough to coat everything well, but you don't want to drown it, as we used to learn on Saturday mornings. Don't drown your food, right? I'm going to toss all of that together, and then I'm going to see. Oops, again, a little wild. I'm getting wild today. Been in quarantine too long. I'm just getting a little crazy. Yeah, and so my onions are coming apart. Now, of course, when you toss a salad, this is another reason why I like to put it in a bowl and then put it in a serving bowl. When you toss a salad, all the heavy stuff is going to fall to the bottom. But that is just perfect for putting it into your serving bowl. So I'm going to pull out, of course, the leaves. I don't know how they make TV shows, because trying to remember not to get in your own way with the camera is a little, it's hard to remember. So
no,
now you want to
I should be yelling in your ear like, move the bowl, Tanya, but I can't do that secretly.
Okay. Type it in the chat and hope I notice. All right, so you want to save a little bit of your toppings to put on top so that they show up. And then, of course, toss these on. These are great for not only the sweetness and that nuttiness because they're nice and roasted, but also for
salad back. There we go. See, now I'm the producer. Oh, man. That looks incredible. I bet it smells cinnamony and pecany in the kitchen when the strawberries.
Yeah, little tiny.
Ooh, that fresh smell.
And this spinach is out of this world. So
look
one
at
of my all-time favorites. So a savory way to eat your strawberries. Now, let's do a time-honored way to eat our strawberries.
Yes. Can I tell them?
Yes.
Strawberry shortcake. So maybe you're like me and you've never made your own shortcake before. I cook, y'all. I talk on this like I don't do any cooking. I do some cooking, right? I'm around Tanya. I go to a lot of these places. But some things where just you get so accustomed to be like, oh, I'll just buy some. You know what I will do is I'll put it on like a sweeter buttermilk biscuit. I don't know that I've made actual shortcake. I normally do it on biscuits. But you go to the unnamed grocery store, you get that plastic package with the pre-shaped little the sponge cake things, and you're like, fine, can of whipped cream, get it, go into the barbecue, go into your in-laws, don't have time. Well, maybe we have a little more time on our hands, and so if you want to, Tanya's going to show us if you want to like really show up and show out with your shortcake. This is the plan for today. I'm excited to see how this works.
Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to throw this together because, again, we've done magic of TV. I've got some all-purpose Weisenberger flour. If you guys are having trouble finding flour in the grocery, Weisenberger may be the way to go. You can buy directly from them. You can find them at the co-op. I'm trying to think of other people. I think even Target carries some of their mixes, but I don't think they carry the AP flour, but I could be wrong on that, and someone can comment if I am. This is AP flour from Weisenberger Mill with a little bit of salt, a little, it's 4 cups and 3 tablespoons of sugar and some baking powder. Yes, not baking soda. And I meant to put that in with the flour. So I'm sifting all of this together.
Tanya, Barron just commented that he picked up 4 gallons of strawberries. He made shortcake. He made strawberry rhubarb pie and jam. And I'm wondering, where's our cut? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, Barron is like, he's wonderful. He was here for our pasta when we had just pasta ravioli going everywhere, and he was in his element. So that does not surprise me at all. But yeah, the strawberry rhubarb, Barron, you could drop one by the kitchen. I'll get it. Just leave it on a bag outside the door. Okay, so I've got my dry mixture. I've got a 1.25 cups of heavy whipping cream. And we always I have this in the fridge because we've got to whip some cream later, but this is JD's milk in Russellville, Kentucky. And he has cream, buttermilk, whole milk, and he does eggnog at Christmas. That was the other thing. I have about 6 ounces of softened butter. Now, pay attention to the recipe that I've put on. There's butter for brushing, there's butter for using in your pan, and there's butter for going in here. So pay attention to the amounts as you're going through the recipe. It's very important to not use all of the butter in this step, or your shortcakes are just going to go because the amount of fat in them is too much. So I'm just working this in with my hands, and I'm going to do it like it's almost like a pastry crust. You want to work it until it becomes a coarse meal. And I'm trying to talk too fast. Course meal.
Sometimes I get nervous about doing that with my hands, Tanya, because I feel like all of the pie crust making, I'm like, oh, I'll get it too hot, or you know what I'm saying?
I have hot hands too, but if you do it really quickly, especially with frozen, this is softened, and I don't know why it's softened versus frozen as far as like coating the flour. So I need to look that up. But with the frozen, a lot of times I will use a pastry knife because I have hot hands.
Yeah.
And
So we don't want flaky in this recipe per se. Is that what's happening?
Not per se. No, you are really, you're not leaving like too many pea-sized pieces. You're really working it in there and getting it to a course meal state.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And I just did that really quickly with my hands, even though I have hot hands. And also you'll notice when I work with flour, I get it everywhere. If my mom's still on here, she could tell you how much I can spread flour in a kitchen when I'm working on it. 1/4 cup of the heavy whipping cream. That's a lot of fat to be adding. That's another reason why I don't want you to over fat your dough. And you just sort of flip the dry ingredients over the wet. And then once we get that pretty well incorporated, it'll still be clumps like this. Again, this is, to me, it's as much a pie, almost like a pie or pastry crust as it is a biscuit. So now it's starting to come together, and you do this thing. It says to knead the dough, but there's a French term for this, and I forget what it is every time. But basically what you do is you kind of start pressing. So you're not kneading. You don't want to overwork that gluten in the flour. So you're just sort of pressing and turning it over to get the dry stuff in. And I do this with biscuits, just barely, just enough to get everything incorporated and not a lot of dry things at the end. Now, I'm going to leave that pile there because I have a disc of dough ready to go to show you how we're going to put these together. Now, I went ahead and, whoa, can you tell? I went ahead and put flour on my cutting board. And this has been resting for a little bit. But as you can see, it is a solid disc. I do need to roll it out a little bit. I've got my French rolling pin, and I'm just going to give that a little dusting of flour, dust on here. And you want to roll it out to about 1/2 inch. And I know you're going to say, oh my gosh, that seems really thin for a shortcake, but let me just.
That is, I was going to say, Tanya, it's like you knew.
Because here's what we're going to do. We're going to make these very easy to split shortcakes. And the way we're going to do that is I've got my pan right here. I've got room for it. And I've got my cutter and a little bit of flour for my cutter. And I'm going to cut out these shapes right here to start with. We'll do 3. Since I did 3 Magic of TV ones. Now I've got some melted butter right here. Again, watch your butter. We're going to brush the tops with butter. And then we're going to cut out 3 more for the tops and place them right on top.
Oh, I can't see it because I'm in here. I am so intrigued. This feels like a wonderful chef hack.
It is. And the first time I saw this, I was like,
pre-split shortcakes.
I thought, no, I'm not going to go through that step, but it really does make a difference. Huh. And then if you like to get all fancy schmancy baker on yourself while you're recording.
You're already making shortcakes. Why not?
Yeah, if you're going through this process, get yourself some decorating sugar, also called casting sugar. We keep it. I can get it in a big quart container. It's called Sprinklina, but you can get it wherever cake decorating products are sold.
What was it called, Tina?
It's called Sprinklina. It has little fairies on the box. Okay.
Oh, that is precious.
It's magic. Okay. And just sprinkle some on top, and it gives you a lovely little crystally crust, which I like.
I love that little crunchy bit. Yes.
Little, like sea salt, only it's sweet. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven. It's a 450-degree oven, but of course,
look at us.
Oh, so okay.
Perfect. Okay, I'll use it.
All right, I am gonna rush through this end part. You just quarter, I think it's 2 pints of strawberries here. And then I'm going to and you probably can only do this with these really good local strawberries. I'm just going to crush a few, and that's to get the juices going. This is the macerating part. Now to macerate, you're just breaking down the cells so they give off their liquid, and you really want this for strawberry shortcake. And I'm going to grab, oh, here it is. Here is my little bit of sugar on top. I think it is, I'm not going to use the whole thing because I only did a few strawberries here. And just toss them. So you can macerate just about anything, especially if it's a really water-filled fruit or vegetable. So when you put salt on tomatoes and the juice comes out, you've macerated the tomatoes. If you put acid on these, so if I could put a little lemon juice in here, or even some zest might be nice. You could add, I like doing lavender sugar on strawberries a lot of times. So I get dried lavender, I store it in a jar with about a cup of sugar, about 2 tablespoons to a cup, and then it gives it just another little flavor. And you can see already so much juice starting, but we're going to set this aside to let that reaction happen. And while we're doing that, and you can do this while your shortcakes are baking, it takes about 10 minutes. We are going to make real chantilly cream. So I've got my bowl, my whisk, and even my measuring cup in the fridge so that everything's nice and cool. If you keep the fats cold, you're going to get whipped cream much faster. So
I have made this mistake, Tanya. I have made butter rather than whipped cream more times than I care to admit, and I think it's because it was my stuff was too hot.
That's possible because you have to really beat it. Also, if you're doing this, this is why I like to do it. It'll wear out most people's arm. I've just done it so much I don't think about it anymore. Is I like to do it by hand, and that way you can really start to see when the fats are really starting to enclose the air, and you can stop it right there. Whereas if you have something mechanical going on, by the time you go, oh, and get to it, turn it off, it can make butter. So
before I exit again, will you speak to the size of bowl and whisk? I feel like many of us have too small a bowl when we're trying to do things like this.
So even though I only have a cup and a quarter of heavy cream, that's what I'm working with, heavy cream in here. It's only been a 1 coffee morning, folks. You see I have a huge bowl, and that is because I want to give myself plenty of room. I see a lot of people in our kitchen using tiny, tiny bowls, and I get where you're going. You're like, oh, I want the right size container. I get that. But for something that you're whisking, you're trying to incorporate air. So this, number one, this is going to increase in volume. So you want to give yourself room to increase in volume, but you also want to give yourself room to really let your whisk go. Now this is a piano wire whisk. We have other whisks in here that have much thicker tines. The piano wire whisk will shear the fat globules apart a lot better than the thick tines will. And also you can even get a balloon whisk, which is really big, and so it helps to incorporate a lot of air. Now notice right now, now if you're doing this with a mixer, a hand mixer or a stand mixer, turn it down on low at this point. Because if you turn it all the way up, fat's gonna go everywhere, all over your kitchen. You can mitigate that somewhat by throwing a big tea towel over your bowl if you're in a hurry. I have done that before. Again, if you've got a tea towel over your bowl and you've got your machine up on high, you can get butter very quickly. Now, I'm using confectioner's sugar today. If you only have granulated sugar, then put it in at the beginning before you start whisking so that it has time to dissolve and crystallize.
So, Tanya, confectioner's sugar is just extra fine, right? I used to get confused that it meant powdered sugar because I was like, oh, that's what you put on candy. I don't know what my logic was.
No, confectioner and powdered are equal terms. It is sugar ground fine with a tiny bit of cornstarch to keep it from sticking to itself.
Okay, so you put powdered sugar in there.
Yes.
In my parlance. Okay, and if you're using regular granulated, you would put it in now rather than later.
Yeah, at the very beginning, before you start.
Oh, see? Yeah.
All right, so you can see it's starting to get a real soft piece here. Now, some people like their whipped cream right here. If you aren't serving this in the motor, you want to just a wee bit thicker, and you see it's not sticking on the cover. You also see I'm not moving my arm like this. I'm pretty much moving this down.
Tanya,
wearing
did
the
your microphone shift by any chance? It's getting a little wampa wampy on my end.
Oh, I tell you what,
oh, there you go.
It's
fixed it.
My apron string was starting to cover it. Okay, so now we're getting stiff peaks. Now's when I'm going to add my confectioner sugar. And now I like very light. Some people don't even sweeten their cream because everything else is sweet. I like a little bit of sweetness. In this 1.25 cups, I'm going to put about a tablespoon of confectioner sugar. If you like it really sweet, you might want to triple that. But I do like a lot of vanilla, so I have a full teaspoon of vanilla. And there you go. There's your chantilly cream. So to set up our plate, as we do, I like using a big plate for something as ostentatious as strawberry shortcake. I want plenty of landscape for it. So here is our lovely shortcake. Put a little bit in there. And now we have all of this lovely syrupy sauce on the strawberries. And I'm gonna use a smaller spoon to put some of those on. Now you may want to reserve a few at the very end. And this is just a little tippy, chefy, hacky tip. I'm gonna pull out some of this juice. Oh, so wonderful. Okay. Then, oh man, that smells amazing. A nice big dollop, probably 2 of cream. And then set the hat back on, kind of cockeyed. And then if you feel like it, you can put a little bit more strawberry on top. I always reserve stuff, especially, you know, if you're going to take a photo later, post it to Instagram, you want it to look, what is it? You're arranging it to look like it fell that way, you know? So, nice results there. And voila.
That looks stunning, Tanya. Look how bright and vibrant and juicy. Oh my goodness. Great job.
Right. Any questions?
We didn't see many. Thank you to Bethany for giving us the heads up. You can find Weisenberger flour at the Whole Foods in Lexington if you're interested.
I wondered, but I didn't know for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's bring her in, actually. Heads up, Bethany. We're going to bring you in. Hello, Bethany.
Hello.
So I don't know how to introduce you anymore. You have been our student kitchen manager. I forget the proper title we gave you. But you just graduated. And Tanya wrote such a thank you, Tanya, for reading that thoughtful little note about Bethany. We have loved having her in the kitchen, but we get to hold on to her for a little while longer this summer. How is your summer going? What have you been up to?
It's been really good. I have been going to the farmer's market a lot. I was actually there both Saturday and Sunday. So I have a little bit of a sunburn, which is lovely.
Wear your sunscreen, Bethany.
I know. You would think by now I'm very, very light skinned. So you would think that at this point I would wear sunscreen, but no. But no, it's been really good. It's been a very interesting summer this far, which I know it has been for everyone, but it's been nice. I love the nice weather. So
great. Well, our plan is I won't always be able to make it to this live cast or some of our other events that we're doing. We did a great class with the 4-H kids a couple weeks ago, and I don't even know when that was. Some point in the past, y'all, it was so great. All of these kiddos in their home kitchens, and their parents are kind of in the background, and they're chopping garlic, and they're playing with knives and fire like we love to do with kids. It was fantastic. They made pasta primavera. Tanya walked them through that. All these kids are like, oh, I got this from my garden. I got that from my garden. It's like,
turnips. I have basil. I have asparagus that I got from the backyard. It was incredible.
So great. So Bethany's going to be stepping in and help us do some of that because Tanya can't possibly do all things during this. She's got to do the cooking. So we're watching comments and clicking things around. So just wanted to introduce you all in case you see her in the future. Any parting words of wisdom, Bethany?
I'm just very excited.
Do you have a favorite way to eat strawberries?
I actually just made strawberry shortcakes too, but I did cupcakes. So I made a yellow cake and cupcakes, and then broke it in half and made it like that. But
Ooh.
I'm really hungry right now. So
no, this happens every time we do this. I'm like, oh, I'm not hungry. I'm just getting my coffee, and then I'm like, oh God, I gotta get out of here.
I need some snacks on the side.
Yeah, careful, you end up with your mouth full on this. It's not cute.
In the events, bring snacks because you will get hungry.
All right. Well, thank you, Tanya. If you didn't see, the recipes are on the Food Connection website. I posted the links in the chat, but you can always find our recipes there. If you have thoughts or ideas for how other future cooking classes, we've got a fun. Can I say what we're doing next week, Tanya?
Yes, absolutely.
If you've ever seen that strange alien-looking vegetable in your CSA share or the farmer's market, and it looks like something maybe a Klingon from Star Trek would eat. It's a bulb and it's got crazy leaves coming everywhere. Kohlrabi. We are hitting the high points of seasonal eating, and maybe what the heck do I do with this? I didn't know for years. I'm still not totally sure. I have a couple ways, but we're going to do kohlrabi next week. Super excited. Don't miss out. Get your seasonal eating game up to par. And otherwise, we'll see you on the internet.
Till next week. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.